Welcome to Court TV. I'm Seema Iyer, and I'm here with my colleague and sometimes nemesis,
Sometimes.
Vincent
Not all the
Politan.
time. Vinny Politan. Yep, great to be here. A lot of news to talk about today.
A lot of news. Last week was a plethora of breaking criminal news. At the forefront was the R. Kelly story. So, Vinny, I want you to break it down. Friday, he was indicted, but we have some new news as of just moments ago.
Yeah, just moments ago, he was back inside a courtroom. All of this happening in Illinois. R. Kelly, the indictment involves allegations of sexual assaults and underage girls and one woman. But today in court, facing 10 charges, pleaded not guilty to all of them. Bond was set last week by another judge at $1 million, but he can post 10% of that. So if he comes up with $100,000, he can get out of jail. That hasn't happened yet. His attorney was explaining that he's got some mismanagement of his wealth through the years. Think about all the hit records that he has written and performed, and to not be able to scratch up $100,000.
I think that was surprising. All weekend, I was waiting for him to get out, and the fact that all weekend I stayed incarcerated for this long is surprising. But doesn't he also owe money in child support?
He owes some money in child support, but that probably won't impact his ability to get out. But again, his lawyer says he should be able to get the money, he's just got to figure out a way to get it. So I expect he'll get the money, he'll get out, pending all these charges. But really a huge day. I mean, this is a game changer because people were looking at that Lifetime Surviving R. Kelly docuseries that came out, and they were like, why isn't this guy under arrest? Why isn't he charged? Why isn't he indicted? Well, he's now been indicted, he's been arrested, and he's been charged.
And that's because the general population, the viewers, people who saw the series, they were up in arms that he hadn't been indicted. But then the Cook County prosecutor, she put out a statement saying, hey, victims, witnesses, come forward and give your stories. And soon enough, which was pretty give your stories.
A lot of that has happened. A lot of that has happened. Now, if you go through what is actually alleged here, some of it is troublesome, and it spans different years. So there's 4 different accusers that we're talking about in this case, and they don't list their names because they're accusing someone of sexual assault, so they just put initials there. But the first one, aggravated criminal sexual abuse based on the victim being under 17 and Robert Kelly, also known as R. Kelly, being more than 5 years older than the victim. This is a case where the victim or the accuser met R. Kelly on her 16th birthday when she was celebrating her 16th birthday at a restaurant. And apparently there's a back and forth and a card is exchanged. These are the allegations, that R. Kelly gets a card over to her. The 16-year-old's mother grabs the card and says, wait a minute, she's 16 years old.
Right, yeah.
Flash forward, the story is, according to prosecutors, that this young woman then gets the card from her mom's purse, ends up taking a taxi, cuts out of class, and goes over and has this ongoing relationship with R. Kelly.
Because you can imagine that for a young woman, right? For a young woman to get that type of attention is so rare, and then it's so enticing.
Well, yeah, she's starstruck. But and if you believe the docuseries, if you believe some of the other allegations out there, this is a guy who knows how to do this. But again, he's never been convicted of anything. We have to remind everyone, R. Kelly has never been convicted of anything.
But Vinny, he did go to trial.
He went to trial, was found not guilty.
And that was back in 2008.
2008, it was a case with a videotape. A case with a videotape, and the jury came back very quickly and said not guilty.
Well, here's what's interesting. So in that case, it was reported that the jury was struggling with identity in the videotape because he has some marking on his back. And it has been reported, I believe CNN was the first to report, that in this videotape there is some type of mole on his back, which at least the, Michael Avenatti, who is a lawyer for the accuser or the whistleblower, he is pointing to that marking on his back.
And you say videotape.
As identifying.
Michael Avenatti, I have a tweet here that just, let me find it.
Okay.
Got a lot of papers today. So Michael Avenatti.
There's no other source better than Twitter.
Right.
Is
So
there?
so Avenatti, I don't know him. I've seen him on television tons of times, usually talking about the president and his client. But in this case, he tweeted out today, I can confirm that we will be providing a second video showing R. Kelly engaged in sexual assault of a minor to prosecutors this morning. This tape was recently uncovered in connection with our ongoing nationwide investigation on behalf of victims. Justice must be done. Let me explain who Michael Avenatti is representing here, because I was a little confused. So he says that he represents 2 accusers, 2 parents, and 2 whistleblowers / insiders who were inside R. Kelly's world for maybe a couple of decades. This part is probably the most important part. If he's got someone from the inside who was able to get these videos and be able to testify about what was happening, it's powerful, but it begs one question. Why did they wait so long to blow the whistle?
That's always the
Why are they
question
sitting there? And that's what the cross-examination is.
Right.
Why are you sitting there watching this guy, allegedly assault all these young women? If you know something's going wrong, why didn't you do something?
Well, let me ask you this. Do we know the time periods of the alleged assaults?
Okay, here we go. Let's walk through it, because there's a bunch of different ones. So the first one was from between 5/26/98, 1998, and 5/25/1999, because that's probably when she turned 17, because again, met on her birthday.
Right.
Now we've got another one, 9/26/98 and 9/25/2001. So that's over the course of 3 years. This is someone between the ages of 14 and 16, according to prosecutors. Third one is a little bit more recent. It's February of 03, but this accuser, 24 years old. Okay. Last accuser this is the most recent one. This is between May 1st of 2009 and January 31st of 2010, who was 16 years old. The interesting part of all this is that they allege that they met, let's see, the actual allegations on what he has done here, I'm not going to talk about here, okay?
Okay.
You can find it online, but it is nasty. It is vile, it is disturbing. If it was someone who was of age, now we're talking about someone who is 16, someone who might be 15 or 14. Very problematic, very problematic.
Well, let me ask you this question so it's clear. The video that Michael Avenatti turned over,
yes,
is that person, the girl depicted in that video, is she alleged to be one of the accusers in the indictment?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, and let's also be clear that there is no confirmation that we have received that the man in that video is in fact R. Kelly.
Exactly.
Because he's declaring his innocence.
Right, he's saying did not do it, and his attorney, I don't even think has seen the video yet, so they haven't even had an opportunity to go through it and figure out what does it say, and they probably won't say anything about it. But the bottom line here, each of these 4 accusers, 10 charges total, up to 7 years for each charge. So potentially, right, found guilty of everything, judge throws the book at R. Kelly, 70 years in prison. But the judge has the option also of probation for all of these charges. So,
yeah,
I mean, wide range.
Right. And there's always the idea of consecutive versus concurrent, so you get the sentences on top of each other or back to back to back to back for each victim.
Right.
That's also the possibility. Now, what in your opinion, as a former prosecutor, what does the prosecution have to show in these cases besides the victim's testimony? Do we need more evidence?
You may not. You may not. I mean, you've got 2 videotapes allegedly, right? At least one associated with this, and there may be a second videotape.
And when you're talking videotapes, he means videotapes,
right.
VHS tapes.
Absolutely.
So some of you don't even remember what a VHS is.
Yeah, but to think about it, if in fact this is true, all these allegations, you're doing this with these underage children, and you're recording it. See, that's the part I think that will harm him even more if in fact he's found guilty and it's time to sentence him. It's like, this guy is such a deviant. Not only is he doing this, but then he's recording it and memorializing it.
Right, but Vinny, let's be clear. There may not be a videotape for each victim.
No, there may not be.
So,
there may not be.
So there's always, well, let me ask you this. Do you think who wants these victims to be tried together and who wants them to be separate?
That's a big issue. To me, that's the biggest issue here for R. Kelly and his defense is he wants one victim or one accuser at a time on trial. It's a lot easier to cross-examine one person.
Sure.
Like if you have 4 accusers, one after the other, coming in front of the same jury,
the
jury's going to be like, okay, all right, all 4 of them are lying.
Because
everybody's
there's power in
lie.
numbers.
Yeah, there absolutely is.
Numbers, right.
And we saw that in the Cosby case.
Right.
We saw it in the Cosby case, even though charged with one, but other women were able to come in and testify second time around, and it was a much more powerful presentation. So to me, that's where the legal battle in this whole thing is going to be. What's going to happen? You got 4 accusers here. Do they all come in one trial, or will this be separate trials? And as you see, they're all spread out, different time periods. They're not at the same time, so they may very well end up with 4 R. Kelly trials.
I can see, though, I imagine that the defense attorney, Greenberg, is going to fight hard because he says that he was not even notified of the grand jury process. This is what he says, that the grand jury was impaneled, they were investigating, he wasn't notified. As a defense attorney, former defense attorney, I find that surprising because in my experience, every time a prosecutor, if I had a client, a known client, and I was the known lawyer, I would get the heads up from a prosecutor.
Yeah, well, I think we all had a heads up that something was happening, didn't we? After the docuseries came out, but the specifics of what's happening,
did not,
he didn't.
So what's next?
So next, March 22nd is the next appearance in court, and don't expect a trial this year. It's going to take some time. First time around, it took years to go from charges to trial. So I'd expect the same thing here. You've got a powerful attorney like Greenberg who's an appellate expert, an expert on the law. So
I didn't know that. Okay.
Every issue that they're going to litigate, if they lose, they will appeal. Trust me.
And they're going to be gathering a ton of experts to explain this delay in reporting for each of the victims.
Yes, and they're going to investigate each accuser's life. Right, because it comes down to
with a fine-tooth comb,
with credibility as to the accuser versus R. Kelly if he testifies, which I doubt he would, but it comes down to credibility. So, to me, it's going to take a long time to get to trial. But in the interim, I think there's going to be a lot of court appearances, motion for this, motion for that. The sides not cooperating, the sides fighting over what evidence should and should not be allowed in. All that's going to take place.
And the severance. So trying to split up these victims into separate trials. That's all going to be done through motion practice. That's what we expect. And we will keep you posted as much as we possibly can on all.
That's our job, isn't it?
That is our job,
That's
right?
our job.
Okay, so that's right. So R. Kelly and other breaking criminal news, we'll bring it to you here we're launching soon.
We're launching.
Okay, so it may be on May 1st,
of this year,
2019.
You can watch us on the big screen.
On the big screen.
Not just your little screen
and
at
the
home.
small screen, and all screens in life. So, okay, where do we follow you?
You can follow me on Facebook. It's Vinny Politan. It's my name, CourtTV. Vinny Politan, CourtTV. Very easy.
And I'm at Seema CourtTV on Facebook and Twitter. And check out our CourtTV.com website. We've got this really cool promo there. And we'll see you soon.